Jesse, cue it up. Everybody in their places. It's time to go.
Are we rolling? Yeah, we're rolling. Okay, let's get it done, everybody. Let's go.
Hey, Reagan, how's my hair? Is it okay?
Poxy, they can't see you.
All right, come on, let's go. It's toots, people. Poxy, start on page 4. Get the
Here we
lines
are.
right this time.
All right, I
5,
got it this time, I swear.
4, 3.
Come on. It's time for the Ghost of Hollywood.
Well, hello, wall crawlers, and welcome to the 50th episode of the Ghosts of Hollywood. That's right, baby, the big 5-0 as we kick off season 6 here tonight in the studio. Yeah, I'm Foxy Leonard with Miss Reagan, and we have actress Jade Croot in-house to discuss her latest release, starring alongside Hugh Jackman in the film The Death of Robin Hood.
That's right, directed by Michael Sarnowski, The Death of Robin Hood recently premiered at the 73rd Sydney Film Festival and has also hit theaters here stateside earlier last week. More on that later. We also have Simon and Lynnox in the house to bring you another terrifying tale from the depths of the cinematic dumpster fire. And more big announcements. You ready to tell them, Poxy?
About my new office at Universal?
You don't have a new office at Universal.
Well, I'm planning for a new office at Universal, Reagan.
Maybe you could just buy a ticket to the theme park.
I've been there and done that. In 86 from Mario World. 3 times in a week.
I'm not gonna ask. Anyways, back to the news. As of last month, it became official that the Ghost of Hollywood is actually relocating to, well, Hollywood.
Yeah, that's right, wall crawlers. Look out, because your boy is on the way with stars in his eyes.
Sure, but on the level, the big move came late last season after me and Poxy traveled south to spend most of October in Hollywood, and decided we never wanted to leave. But as most of you know, Portland is where we cut our teeth and has been our home for nearly 6 years here on the airwaves. That said, the program will still fill its regular slot here on Late Night per usual, but hopefully a great deal of these remote interviews will become in-house as our new studio lives where most of our guests do.
Man, that's gonna be wild, but it's been a crazy ride here in Portland, though, you know? Taking it back to when GOH all began, and I was still just second banana on War Pigs Arcade, all young and beautiful.
You may have been young, but you're never beautiful.
Whatever, Reagan. If that's the case, how come my mom always told me I had the perfect face for radio? Yeah, we think that, huh? Yeah.
I'll let you sit with that for a minute.
You're just jealous, Reagan.
Anyway, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Cable Radio, for all their continued support, and we're excited to remain a part of the Portland radio community as we expand programming down south.
Yeah, back on tonight, though. Actress Jade Croot will be joining us in a moment to discuss her career and her latest work in The Death of Robin Hood. Yeah, and while Jade has an extensive background in acting, be it on the screen or the theater, you know, it was her breakout performance in last year's film Rabbit Trap, which has catapulted her into the limelight.
However, Jade's filmography traces all the way back to her debut in the 2013 film, The Machine. She's also well known for her role as Leona Bevan in the series, The Accident, as well as her performances in the series The Serpent Queen and Steel Town Murders. Each of these roles requires an extensive amount of psychological and physical endurance for such a young actress. And Jade has already told me at no point does she shy away from a challenge.
Yeah, and it's time for us to ask her all about it. Now, I'm Foxy Leonard here with Miss Reagan. Stay tuned, because when we return, Jade Croot will join us right here in the hot seat to discuss all of this and more. You're listening to The Ghost of Hollywood. We'll be back after these messages.
Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back to The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Miss Reagan here with Poxy Leonard, and tonight we are excited to have actress Jade Croot joining us to discuss her recent work in the upcoming feature film, The Death of Robin Hood, and her recent performances in both Rabbit Trap and Sacrifice. And with that, I'd like to welcome Jade Croot to the show. Jade, thanks for joining us on The Ghost of Hollywood. How are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, let's start with your recent work, since it's very exciting to talk about with the premiere right around the corner. Now, when did you first become involved with production for The Death of Robin Hood? And what was the casting process like for you for this role?
It was towards the end of 2020, what are we now, 2026, so 2024, I think it was. And then I actually filmed the movie in 2025. So we filmed in the January or February of 2025, and it was in Ireland, and it was in the middle of winter, so it was freezing. But it was really cool. We had a really, really wonderful crew and a fantastic cast, and we had the most amazing director in Michael Sarnowski. He was just absolutely wonderful, and so supportive. And it was amazing. I mean, it was my first time in Ireland, so I got to experience that for the first time, and just to be on a set with those kind of actors who I've looked up to for so many years. It was incredible. It was almost dreamlike. It didn't feel like it actually happened by the end. It kind of felt like a dream.
How were you cast for the role? How did you end up being cast for the part? What was that like?
So it was an audition process. So I sent in a tape, and I was actually filming another movie at the time. So I sent in a tape, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks later I had a recall. And I actually got the call from my agent to say, you've got a recall, on the day I was flying home back to Wales. So I'd wrapped on another movie, and then I got the call to say I had this recall in London 3 or 4 days later. So the turnaround was quite quick. I then went in and met the casting team, Nina Gold's office, who were lovely. I read for them. And then I had another recall with Michael and the team. And then I got the job again 3 or 4 days later. So it was actually quite a quick turnaround because it was just before Christmas. But it was amazing. I think like when you work with people like Michael, who are just masters of their craft, and you feel so supported and safe in a room, especially at like an audition stage, you feel very lucky and very privileged that you're even just in the room with those kind of people. So it was all very quick, and then I was in Ireland shooting the movie.
Yeah, you all shot mainly at Belfast Harbour Studios, right?
It was around Belfast. Yeah, a lot of my scenes were in like the hills of in the middle of winter in Belfast. I didn't shoot anything in the studio, so
Oh, you shot everything on location?
I did. Yeah, it was very, very cold.
How was this role particularly challenging, and what were you able to bring to the part that made the work unique to you?
I think for me, I've just been such a massive fan of Hugh Jackman. I mean, he's kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to act. And I've grown up just being such a fan of him and the roles that he's played and the movies that he's done. And I think just being on a set with him and having the time to learn from the best, and having just an understanding of the type of actor he is and just how lovely of a person he is. I think the challenge was not to get too emotional, because it was such a dream come true to work with him. And I just felt very lucky and very honoured that they'd given me the chance and that I'd had that opportunity to work with such an incredible team. It was very, very cold, so that was a challenge. I think we shot in the middle of winter. I think at one point it was actually sleeting while we were shooting some of the scenes. So I think that was probably the main challenge. It was very cold. But again, we had a very lovely team that looked after us and supported us. And yeah, I can't wait for the film to come out. I'm hoping it'll be really well received, because everybody worked very hard.
Did it make working on location with the weather changes? Was it tricky? Did you all have to wait out weather at points, and did it require a lot of patience and kind of orienting around what was going on in the sky?
We all just kind of got stuck in, really, and we all just took care of each other and checked in on each other. Again, Hugh, he's such a fantastic leader, and he is such a wonderful person to have on a set, and he would look after people and support people. And I think when kindness comes from the top, it just trickles down. And we were just very lucky that we had a really hardworking, kind crew that just took care of each other and checked in. Lots of cups of tea, lots of hot water bottles, lots of like big woolly coats and hats and gloves. So yeah, it was an experience. It's something that I look back on, and I just feel so grateful to have been a part of it, because I learned so much. And I think it's every actor's dream to be on a set with those kind of people.
And what did you take away most from working with Hugh directly? Because it sounds like as a veteran actor, he had a pretty big impact on you. So what did you take away most from that?
I think it was his kindness. He just showed so much kindness and support. I was very nervous because obviously he's been a big hero of mine since maybe 5 or 6 years old. And not only is he the most wonderful actor, but the support that he gave and the understanding that he gave to me on the set, it allowed me to be it allowed me to just really push myself as an actor because I felt so safe. And I think the most wonderful thing is that he is an absolute master of his craft, but he's also just the kindest human being. And when you have two of those things next to each other, it just, you make something really wonderful and really lovely. And all my scenes were with Hugh, so it was magic, you know. It was so. I always dreamed that I would get to work with him, but it always felt like a dream that was maybe a bit too far away because he's.
Well, when it happened, like, what did you? I mean, I know you said you felt like you kind of had to suppress being starstruck a little bit, but you worked with him very directly on a lot of these scenes. So once you became friends or you began to know each other, did that sort of starstruck all sort of subside? Did you really get to appreciate him as a person at that point, I would suppose?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the very first time that I met him. It was in a rehearsal with Michael, our director, and I remember just before I walked into the room, it felt like an out of body experience because it was like a genuine dream coming true, and we shook hands and then we just spoke through the scene, and obviously we had a really wonderful leader in Michael Zanowski. So I think having two really two really two really inspiring people who've been in the business a lot longer than I have, but they treated me as an equal and they just gave me all their time and energy and support. And I think because the scenes, I don't want to spoil anything, no spoilers, but because some of the scenes are quite brutal, like they are quite violent,
yeah.
you quickly learn to trust, and you quickly learn, you quickly just become friends, and you quickly, what's the word I'm looking for? You just support each other through it, sorry, I'm not explaining myself very well. I think it's a case of when you've got those quite big, stunt-worthy scenes, you have no other choice but to look after each other. And I think then they become almost human to you in a way that maybe it wasn't before. So I was just very lucky that he took the time to walk me through each stunt, and we chatted in between takes, which was lovely because some of the scenes were quite intense. So it was all just a really lovely experience. But I'm still starstruck. It's Hugh Jackman. I started acting.
No, you're no stranger to special effects though, and dealing with practical effects. I know. I mean, like your first role in The Machine was pretty intense, and you've played other intense roles like
So
in
is
The
Princess
Accident
Anna.
as well. Yeah. So you're basically saying that, like, having to work in these situations that require a lot of trust and vulnerability and communication really do kind of bring you together outside of the character. Like, hey, we have to do this. It's dangerous. We need to be communicating to make sure that it works effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a case of just taking care of each other, and every actor's got a different process. Every actor has a different way of going into the scene, coming out of the scene. But I do think you just, especially with big stunt sequences, you just learn what the other needs, whether that's a cup of tea, whether that's 5-minute break, whether that's to jump into the scene straight again. So you learn a lot, and I think it's, especially when you've got a great crew that actually you just become friendly with over time, because you're spending so much time together. Everybody just checks in on each other, and then that just makes the experience what it was and what it is. But it's always cool getting to do a stunt sequence. It's one of my favorite things to do on set because the rehearsal is just so cool before you actually get to shoot the scene.
Yeah. Did is there anything you can discuss that you without revealing anything? Was there anything you had to do as far as stunt related on this that was really exciting to you?
Yeah, well, obviously, because all my scenes were with you, we did get to shoot a stunt sequence, and that was really cool. I don't want to give anything away because I know that the film isn't out just yet, but I can't wait for people to see it because it's something that I've never done before, but I had so much fun, and we got to wear these really cool costumes, and oh, I wish I could relive it all over again. It was really, really special.
Turning back to last year in 2025, you starred in the film Rabbit Trap alongside Dev Patel and Rosie McEwen. Now, the role required a great deal of dialogue and emotional acting to carry the weight of the film. So how did you work with director Bryn Chaney to prepare for this part, and where did you find that most challenging?
I think with Rabbit Trap, it was a really special film because it was just me, Dev, and Rosie. And I think with a film that requires you to go to quite dark places, again, it comes back to trusting each other and supporting each other. And Bryn, our director, any kind of question that I had about the script, he was able to answer. And I think for me, I didn't go into the film really knowing a lot about folklore. But as time went on, there was more time to kind of sit in a character's headspace and kind of sit in the character's dialogue. And Bryn, his mind is so in tune with fairies and the Tolaeth Teg and things like that. Any kind of question I had, he would be able to answer it. And that was so fantastic for me. Now I love folklore. Now it's opened like a different kind of universe for me that I didn't really know existed before I filmed Rabbit Trap. But again, for those tough scenes, for those scenes where you have to go to dark places, I think we were very lucky that it was quite a small crew. So again, everybody checked in on each other. I really love a cup of tea. So sometimes we would shoot a really tough scene and then I'd have a little cup of tea. I'd have a little cup of tea afterwards and a hot water bottle. I think there's one picture of me after we shot the rain sequence scene and my hair is soaking and I've got a dressing gown, a jumper, a hot water bottle and a hot cup of tea. And I look like I'm in my element because I was. But you slowly work out what you need to help you get through those tougher days. And I think everybody's different. Everybody has a different way of working out what it is they need. But again, we were very, very lucky. And me and Deb and Rosie became very close very quickly. So we would instinctively know what the other person needed, especially on the tougher, heavier days.
What was your reaction when you first read the script for Rabbit Trap, since it's such an unusual film?
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was really unusual, and I'd never read anything like it before. It was a page turner, so I was instinctively just wanting to get to the end, just to know what the outcome was going to be. And I think with Bryn, because he loves folklore so much, you could just feel the heart within the script. And the character, obviously, that I play is otherworldly, and they do some very questionable things. But actually, for having Bryn there and having Lawrence, our producer, there, it was all instinct. I think just even from the first read, it just felt very special. And then taking it to set, it felt even more special again. But I think you always know when a script feels right because you can't stop turning the page. You just want to get to the end to know what the outcome is going to be. And Rabbit Trap was that for me. I'd never read anything like it before, and I haven't read anything like it since. And it was just, yeah, it was really special. And I know that Bryn had worked really hard. I think he said he'd spent like 5 years writing the script.
Oh, wow.
So it was magic, I think, being on set and seeing his dreams come true. You know, we all were so lucky, but to see his story come to life, that was really, really special. yeah, and I know that he's really proud of it, which I think is the main thing.
Now, in Rabbit Trap, I know a big central element of the storytelling is a heavy emphasis on the use of sound. How did this influence the way you approach playing your role?
Yeah, the sound was a massive part of the film, actually, and I think there's a scene towards the end of the film where my character has got Darcy's records and she's just kind of tearing them apart. And I think initially we had this idea that it was going to be quite rough and it was going to be quite violent. And I remember sitting down and just slowly pulling the records apart. And the sound that it made was quite unlike anything that we'd heard on that set before.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, I think the sound was another character of the film. And I haven't had that before, where you kind of, it becomes the fourth character to the movie. And again, you know, Rosie spent a long time perfecting what she had to do for the film. And then obviously I had to learn how to sing in Welsh, which was another challenge again.
So you did do all of the singing in that movie then?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Which was really cool because I've never really done that before. And I'm learning Welsh, but I'm not a fluent Welsh speaker at all. So I had to really...
Well, it's only the hardest language in the world.
I
No, I'm
would
just kidding.
say so.
It's very tough to speak, though.
So, yeah, and I think you just want to do it justice. You just want to do the story proud. So for me, I spent a long time going through the script, and any Welsh words that I didn't understand or any Welsh words that I needed the pronunciation for, we had a fantastic dialect coach that would do sessions with us. So we were very lucky in that aspect. But yeah, the sound was really cool. It did feel like another character to the film.
Yeah, did Dev have to work with the sound team a lot as far as his acting role? Because like there's, you know, like there's actually a lot of like like blimp operation where they're doing a lot of like Foley art on set and the reel-to-reel stuff. So there is a lot of probably intricate work that the sound team would have probably had to like show him how to do that.
Yes, I think so. I think me and Dev, we spent a weekend. So the crew, it was a smaller crew again, and then it was Bryn, our director, and Lawrence, our producer, and then me and Dev were out in the countryside just filming different things, whether that was jumping in puddles, whether that was the wind, the rain, the sheep. And actually, it was just really cool. Like everything you see in that montage bit was all genuine. Our reactions were genuine. There's a, I don't know if you clocked it in when you got to see the film, but there's a part where I jumped into the muddy puddle and I get stuck.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually did get stuck.
So it's like one of those happy accidents in the film then. So it's something that played out and they kept it.
Yeah, totally. I actually did. I jumped in thinking that it wouldn't be that deep. And it felt like the puddle came up to my hips. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then I felt Deb come and grab me and pull me out of the puddle. But what was lovely is that moment was all real. None of that was acting. Bryn made the decision to keep it in the film. And I think it happened twice. I think the second time I got my foot stuck and then my boot nearly came off in the puddle. So all of those lovely bits that you see in the film, that's all real. But yeah, it was so much fun. But again, it comes back to the sound element and being out in nature and having all those real moments for the film.
Yeah.
I think that was really cool.
You are, you know, it is like having some background in sound. It does hit with I think people that have a big history in audio in a certain way, because there is so much Foley that goes into the film. And I know it's kind of deviating a bit here, but there is a lot of work that goes into the sound. Like say when Dev's putting the headphones on for a second, then he takes them off and you can like hear the exchange from like being in his headphones to like hearing the background outside, you know, in the open air. So there's a lot of really meticulous detail in the film that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that's what was really special, getting to watch it back. Obviously on the set you get to see it, but then when you're in the cinema and you get to hear it all kind of come together. That was insane. They did such a wonderful job.
And I'm Miss Ragnar with Poxy and Leonard, and it's time for a quick break to pass things off to Simon and Lynnox for the latest segment of the Cinematic Dumpster Fire. Stay tuned because we'll be right back to continue our conversation with Jade Croot.
When it comes to making movies, anything can go wrong. And tonight we're here to discuss that on the Cinematic Dumpster Fire.
Welcome to another segment of the Cinematic Dumpster Fire. This is Simon here with my man Lynnox, and it's time for another terrifying tale from the depths of movie-making hell. And, fanning off the flames, tonight we discuss the 1979 film, Stalker, directed by Andrei Tarkovsky. If you're asking why, then you definitely haven't read about it, meaning you're less likely to have seen it. So let me give you some context as we dive into the story. First, Stalker is a science fantasy film made and released in the Soviet Union starring Alexander Kadanovsky. The plot follows three men, two of whom are led by a man simply known as the Stalker, into a place called the Zone. In the story, which borrows loosely from the book Roadside Picnic, the Zone is forbidden and heavily guarded, so anyone going in faces harsh prison time if they're caught. Stalkers, in this instance, are people who guide others across the zone, and in the film, the Stalker has actually just finished a long sentence before being asked to guide these men in. Now, inside the zone somewhere is a room, and if you go into this room, your deepest desires are fulfilled.
But really, it's the understanding of desire packed into the dialogue that takes viewers on one hell of a ride through this philosophical thought. The movie itself paces slowly, and is significant for its minimalist tone, but that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. Just more of a warning shot that you may need a cup of coffee or a nice stretch of time to feel, with a runtime of nearly 3 hours. Instead, we'll talk about the difficulty production faced through the principal photography, which led to Stalker being reshot time and time again, with a new cinematographer replacing the OG. More on that in a second.
Now, the most critical part of the story is visual, but it's one of the instances where you have to know exactly what you're looking at to understand, meaning that most of the scenery in this film comes with a cost. Let me elaborate here really quickly. To begin, the locations primarily used in the film were 2 hydropower plants located on the Yagala River in Estonia. They also used an old fluorochemical factory and an old power plant in Tallinn, Estonia. Obviously, this meant the crew worked extensively in areas contaminated with all sorts of toxic remnants and chemicals, some of which were also currently being dumped into the Yagala upstream of the chute. As a result of this, members of the production crew recall strange instances such as witnessing snow or foam along the river or experiencing anomalous allergic reactions on set during the shoot. There was also a midsummer snow that delayed production for a moment, but the writing team here wasn't able to correlate that directly to the contaminated locations, even though it's still interesting. The legend became even more prominent for the film after Tarkovsky, his wife, and actor Anatoly Solzhenitsyn, who played the writer of the film, all died from bronchial cancer within a decade of the shoot. This had led many to correlate their deaths with the locations used in Stalker, and the legend was born.
However, there isn't much medical foundation here to base the story on rather than the lore that's been provided to the viewer to change their perspective on the locations while they ingest the entirety of the film. And it obviously changes your perspective immensely when you watch these characters journey through those areas for such a long period.
Turning to the shoot itself now, because it also proved incredibly challenging after continuous setbacks forced the crew to reshoot nearly the entire film multiple times. Using Kodak 5247 film stock, Tarkovsky shot for nearly a year before his return to Moscow to develop the film and begin editing. Now, I'm going to get a bit technical here, so hang with me for a second. In the late 70s, Kodak 5247 stock required a new development process that was different from what the Soviets were using at that time. To compress for time, they were working with a process called ECN-1, when 5247 stock required an ECN-2 bath. In addition to that, 5247 used a layer on the back of the film called an anti-halation remjet, which prevented scratching once the camera came up to speed. This had to be removed during a scrubber stage that was built into the ECN-2 line equipment, and if left on during the bathing process, it can cause contamination, which could obviously ruin the film.
And this is what happened, eating up half of the budget and leaving Tarkovsky thinking the production had been deliberately sabotaged. So Tarkovsky fired a cinematographer, Georgy Rurberg, and worked it out with the Soviet Film Board to turn Stalker into a 2-part feature, hiring cinematographer Alexander Kenezinsky to shoot the new round of film. However, Rurberg and Tarkovsky's turbulent relationship during production was later made subject in the documentary Rurberg and Tarkovsky, which offers more insight into the fallout between the two.
At the end of it all, Stalker would become one of the most significant works of Tarkovsky's career, and is today regarded as one of the greatest films of all time, notable mainly for all of the aforementioned above. So be it the dystopian Cold War backdrop, the endless effort to complete the film correctly, or the mind-piercing dialogue that leaves you thinking for hours, Stalker stands as one of the few feats in the cinematic dumpster fire. At least enough of one, that his legend only continues to endure as time passes. And that's it for another quick segment of the Cinematic Dumpster Fire. I'm your host Simon here with my man Lynnox, and it's time to turn things over to Poxy and Reagan so they can continue their conversation with Jade Croot.
Welcome to Season 6, everybody, because we're gearing up for one hell of a year right here on The Ghost of Hollywood. Until next time.
Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast. Now, it held its premiere, Rabbit Trap held its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival in the midnight section early 2025, right?
It did. Yeah, that's right.
So did you attend? What was that experience like for you? And how did you feel seeing audiences react to it for the first time?
Oh, it was so cool. I've never been to America before. And that was always like a little dream of mine to get to go. And when I got the call to say that Rabbit Trap was having its premiere there, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was such a special moment in time, and being there, and it was again otherworldly. It was dreamlike. I couldn't wrap my head around it almost, because it was my first time in America. It was my first time, playing a lead role in a film with these fantastic actors, and then. I love Lord of the Rings. And when I met Elijah Wood, I cried, and then I choked on a piece of chicken. It was
You choked on a piece of Yeah, because Elijah, for context to listeners out there, Elijah produced or had some production. How was Elijah involved with the film? Can you explain that to us after you tell us why you choked on the chicken, and we're glad you're okay?
Oh, yeah. Elijah is so Spectrovision. They produced the film, and Elijah runs that company alongside Daniel and Lawrence. So it was a team effort, really. But at Sundance, that was my first time getting to meet Elijah, and I obviously am such a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and it was just a big moment in my life. I again, the same as Hugh, I'd kind of grown up watching those films. So to actually shake his hand and just say thank you for everything was amazing. But then I choked on a piece of chicken. We'd had food before the premiere. So I was eating, I think it was like a chicken and rice sort of dish. And yeah, that happened, and I was mortified. I was like, I'm so sorry.
I'm glad you're okay.
2 minutes. Left the room.
That's great, though.
Yeah.
You make an impact, though, even if it's not the intended one, you know? No.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to look at it.
Now, switching gears a bit, but I know you're very experienced in the realm of television. How do you approach reoccurring roles for characters such as Leona Bevan in The Accident?
I think Leona was my first kind of lead role in a TV show before. And that character just goes through so much in a short space of time. And yeah, it was 2019, I think we shot that movie. So actually the TV show. So I think it's been a good couple of years now, and I look back on it with so much fondness. It was my first time on a set to that degree. I didn't know what a boom mic was. I didn't know what a mark was. I was all kind of just learning on the job. And I think having somebody like Sarah, who has been in the industry for a long time, I would look to her for the guidance, and she would give me that in bucket loads. And actually, I think the character has some quite few traumatic scenes. So again, we just took care of each other. Again, lots of cups of tea. It all comes back to cups of tea. But I just think I think the thing with tougher roles is that you just automatically everybody just becomes human and everybody just sees each other as human beings, and we all check in and make sure that the other person is feeling supported and safe and looked after. And for me, that was such an incredible honour. Obviously, Jack Thorne wrote the script, and I'd wanted to work with him for years. I actually, when I met Jack for the first time, it was after we'd shot the TV show, and we were doing like a press day, and I shook his hand and I said, "Oh, thank you so much for everything." And I didn't realize I did it, but I curtsied.
Hey, that's nice.
I was like, "Oh," the producer said, "Did you just curtsy?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I think an article came out where somebody who was reviewing the show had caught the moment of me curtsying to Jack, and they wrote it up in their article. So I must have done it, but it's just so cool when you get to work with people who have always been somebody that you've just wanted to shake hands with. So yeah, I feel very lucky, very, very lucky.
You were no stranger to tough material, though, because you made your debut in the 2013 film The Machine, and that's a pretty wild movie. So at what point did you realize that acting was something you wanted to pursue professionally? Was it before or after, like when you were working on The Machine, where you were like, hey, I like doing this, I might do it again?
I think it was when I think I was quite badly, well, I was badly bullied in school, and I think I had no confidence, and I really struggled with trying to go to school when it was really, really tough. And I started karate as a kind of confidence booster, just to get out there and meet different people. And karate then gave me the confidence to go and try acting classes. And actually, through the acting classes, I realized, oh, this is something that I really love and I really enjoy it. And I actually, the friends that I made in my acting classes are still friends of mine today. And it was a safe space for me. And I just felt like I'd found where I belonged, and I never felt that in school. And I think going to those classes on a Friday night, that was my outlet of being able to be somebody else and not just somebody who was being picked on in school. And yeah, it's just grown. It's grown from there, and I've just been so lucky and privileged to have had the experiences that I've had. I think The Machine was really cool because that was the first time. I think I must have been about 12, maybe, when I got to be on a set for the first time. And we had Toby Stevens, and that's such a long time ago now, but I've never forgotten how lovely he was. And again, it all adds up to being a nice person. And I think when I was on these different sets and I saw people being genuinely kind to other people, I was like, oh yeah, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. So yeah, the bullying was really hard, but it kind of pushed me into where I am today. So it's like in a way, I'm kind of glad that it happened, because it gave me the push to go for something that I really wanted to do.
Now, having started your career at an early age, what has that transition been like as you've grown up acting? And how has that changed your focus on the work you're interested in and the roles you'd like to take on?
Yeah, that's a really lush question. I actually just really love playing roles where there's more to what you see, if that makes any sense.
I understand.
I think a lot of the characters I play, there's a lot going on underneath the skin, and I think there's a lot to be said for characters that behave in a certain way. I always find that when I start a role and I start a project, I've got a certain view of who the character is and why they do what they do. And then as time goes on and as I play that character more, I'm like, oh, okay, like my thoughts start to change and my opinions start to change on them. I start to understand who the character is and the headspace that they're in. And I just love playing those kind of roles where you get to really dig deep and you get to do your research and you get to, make notes on your script. And I love drama-led roles and pretty much across the board, those have been the scripts that I've been drawn to, where I get to really dig deep and push myself as an actor. Because I think you have to be quite vulnerable to go to those darker scenes and those darker places. So to have the experiences that I've had, I've been very, very lucky. But I would just love to keep doing things like that as my career goes on. I think it would be really cool to play something also completely different to what I've done before. But for me, it's just digging deep and being brave and doing work that I'm proud of.
Now, as you take on larger roles in film, how does constantly traveling affect your work and schedule management? And is this something that you enjoy?
Yes, I do. I do love being home. I'm very, very proud of where I'm from. I love getting to say that I'm from Wales, but I also love getting to travel and I love getting to meet different people and getting to see different places. And, I'm very, very close to my family, but they've always been so supportive. So whenever I go away, it's always very special when I get to come back. But yeah, I just love getting to see different parts of the world. And the year before last, I was in Greece, and that was always a bucket list place for me to see. And then I got to be there on top of a volcano, which was...
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Why were you on a volcano? What are you doing up there?
I was in a film called Sacrifice, and we shot a lot of the movie on top of a volcano, which was insane. I mean, I look back again and I'm like, did that actually happen? But traveling, I think, especially when you get close to the crew and you get close to the cast, that's the best. Because then, on the days that you're not filming, you get to go and explore and see different parts of the world and you make memories together. And I remember we were filming we also filmed in Bulgaria. And it was amazing. And I said to Jade, who was a makeup artist, I said, should we go to McDonald's? Should we go to a restaurant? I was like, no, let's go to McDonald's, which was a lovely memory in itself, that we were in this really cool place and we went to McDonald's. But it's things like that you remember. And yeah, I always love to go away and then I love to come back home and see my friends and see my family, and having that balance is a lovely part of the job, I think.
Now, when preparing for some of these certain roles that you've worked out, how have you connected with the characters that you've played that aren't as easily relatable or understandable to you or your audience? And how do you provide that connection with the audience?
I think a lot of the time it does come down to the script. I get everything that I need to get from learning the lines, and my brother is really... he's a really wonderful man, and he will sit with me every day and we will run the lines every single day until I go to set. And it's funny, I think, when you automatically are in the headspace of that character, even just by running the lines, I think you go on to set with the knowledge that you've done the work beforehand. Some characters, they are very dark, and some characters make choices that I would never make. But I think you have to kind of take everything you can from the script, and you have to go away, do your job, do your research. And I also think another side of it is coming to set with questions, or come into a rehearsal with questions. if you've got a really good director, they'll be able to guide you, and you can share your thoughts and you can have those chats before you do those tougher scenes. But I just feel I feel very lucky that every set that I've been on, there's always been support. And I think that allows you as an actor to go to those tougher places, and it allows you to be vulnerable so that you're giving your best work, and then the director has the best possible takes that they can take away and go, this works for that scene, that might work for this scene. But yeah, I think it always just comes down to the people and the time that you spend before you come to set, I think, for me.
Looking back on it now, is there a role that you've played that you feel was a significant turning point in your career?
Ooh, this is a cool question. I think Louise in Sacrifice, I think that was a really special role. And the cast, oh my goodness. I mean, they were so wonderful and such massive names. And you know, I'm a nobody compared to these names, and they all just took me under their wings, and they guided me, and they gave me the belief that I struggle to have within myself sometimes to be on a set like that. And I still, even to this day, I can't believe how lucky I am that I got to have that experience with those kind of actors. And for me, that role, I really pushed myself. I really, really pushed myself. She was quite a dark character. She does a lot of questionable things, and to have the support team around me at that time when I was doing again some bigger stunt scenes and having to go to darker places, I think it really pushed me as an actor, and it pushed me further than what I thought I could go. And I just think you learn a lot. I think you have a lot of. We shot that film for maybe 3 or 4 months. That's a long time to live in that character's headspace and to come to set and have that kind of team around you. I had such an amazing time, and it really pushed me, and I'm so grateful for that, because now I know that I can go that far. Hopefully, if there's another role that comes along that again is darker for whatever reason, I can push myself even further. But I think
Jeez.
Louise was really cool.
To be so kind, you can go the distance. How do you come back from some, or maybe not say come back? It's like you're reeling back their time. But like when you have to deal with these really dark roles, because they have been significant, do you attach yourself to the character as like your style of acting? Is there much method that goes into this, or do you kind of do it on a per need basis so that you don't have to you don't have to associate with some of the harder components of these characters?
I'm not method, so I'm not a method actor at all. I think what really helps me is doing the tough scenes, and then immediately once they've got the scene, pulling myself out and chatting with the crew or chatting with the cast. Again, maybe having a cup of tea. I think when you have a tougher scene, it's a privilege to be asked to push yourself that far. And I think for me, what really works is almost staying in the headspace of the character while we shoot the scene. And as soon as we've got everything we need, I immediately pull out and come back to myself and make sure I'm chatting to people, checking in on other people, because everybody's a team. We're all working to get the best possible outcome that we can. So I always make the effort just to check in that everybody's okay. And I think for Rabbit Trap, what was interesting, the first week, I really struggled to not be in the character's headspace, even after we wrapped, for that first week, because I was in every day. I had quite big monologues. I had quite big scenes. And I thought, I need to find a way that I can come out of this headspace at the end of the day and come home and learn my lines for the next day. And at the start of the second week, what really worked for me was I'd come home, I'd have a shower, and it would feel like I would almost be washing the character off. And then I'd learn lines for the following day and come in, be in that character's headspace again, and then have another shower when I came home. It was almost like I was washing him off completely and then coming back into set with a fresh head in the morning, if that makes any sense. I just think it was a real lesson in what works for me, but I definitely just like to keep things light and I like to keep things light-hearted and just making sure that everybody's okay and everybody's happy, because I think when people feel supported and they feel championed, I think everybody just gets the best work from everyone across the board. It's definitely been a lesson, I think, in how you deal with those bigger scenes, for sure.
Now, we're short on time, but before we go, without giving anything away, what excites you the most about audiences seeing the death of Robin Hood for the first time?
I think the stunt scenes are some of the best stunt scenes that I've got to witness. I think they are so cool. I'm in the film and I've seen there are some scenes where I've been hiding behind my hands and I was in it. So I can't wait for audiences to see the work that's gone into that. And yeah, Michael Sanofsky, I mean, he's such an incredible director. I hope to work with him again and again in the future. But what he's done with this film, the way that he's put it all together, and the costumes and the cast and the lighting, it all, just the way that he's pulled it all together and made this incredible film, I feel so lucky to be a part of. But the stunt sequences, they're really, really cool. If you're no good with blood, hide behind a pillow, I would say.
Oh, you get lots of fake blood? Was it fake blood super sticky all the time?
Lots of fake blood and prosthetics. So as a pre-warning, if nobody's good with blood, then yeah, maybe have a blanket or pillow and a cup of tea, of course, for after. But yeah, the stunt sequences, I think, for me.
Well, I'm Miss Reagan here with Poxy Leonard. Jade, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight, and we wish you all the best with your upcoming premiere.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Interested in television or movies?
Then check out The Ghost of Hollywood for the best in cinema-related podcast at theghostofhollywood.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back to The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Miss Reagan here with Poxy Leonard, and we've just finished speaking with actress Jade Croot about her recent performance in the brand new film, The Death of Robin Hood. We'd also like to thank Jade for taking the time from her very busy schedule to join us here on The Ghost of Hollywood this evening.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank Simon and Lynnox, too, for scaring the hell out of us with their terrifying little tale from the set of the 1979 classic, Stalker. And big shout out to our sponsors here at KBOO and our producer, Beth, for all of the hard work and support that went into pulling this episode together. And now it begins, the 6th season, which I'm calling The Race to Hollywood.
Why are we racing?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds intense, like an adventure.
I'm sure it'll be an adventure, all right.
I like adventure, Reagan.
Anyway, this will wrap up another episode of The Ghost of Hollywood. I'm Miss Reagan here with Poxy Leonard, and until next time, good morning and good night.
My mom really did say I have a face for radio, Reagan.